Good morning. It's Thursday, October 17th. Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of Up to the Minute. I'm Sade Campbell, and I'm pleased to serve as your host today. And I also serve as the Enrollment Communications and Social Media Manager here at Houston Community College. And I am joined by a friend and a co-host, Benjamin Escobar, affectionately known as Benji, who serves as HCCTV's production specialist. Good morning, Benji.
Good morning, Sade. How are you? It's always a pleasure to be here on the show with you.
It is always a pleasure. It's boo season. I felt it
Yeah.
yesterday, but I knew it today. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I had to bust it out. Welcome a little cold snap because we don't know if it'll snap back to the regular Houston
Yeah.
weather.
You never know Houston. Houston's always bipolar with its weather, so but it's good that it's here at least.
The weather isn't consistent, but you know what is consistent? Us at 10 a.m. So tell
Yes,
people
that
how to
is
find
true.
us.
Yes, of course. We are live on the Houston Community College District Facebook page, not HCC, but Houston Community College District. We're also on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, and on HCC TV, like Sade said, consistently at noon, 5 and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
All right. Well, we have our Thursday Family Fun Day guest, and who is getting in the mood of October's spooky season. And joining us is the president of the National Museum of Funeral History, Genevieve Keeney-Vazquez. Good morning, Genevieve.
Good morning, Sade. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm going to hand it over to you and Benji, and after your interview, we'll be back with our second guest. So handing it over to you, Benji.
Of course. So yeah, but first of all, welcome back to the show, Genevieve.
Thank you for having me back. I mean, it's always an awesome opportunity to get out and talk about our great city and some of the awesome things that go on in our city.
Yes, of course. And I know today we have a very unique thing we're going to talk about. But before we talk about Day of the Dead and all the other stuff, tell us about the museum and how long it's been in Houston and why here? Why the National Museum of Funeral History? Why here in Houston?
Well, believe it or not, and I still encounter some Houstonians that don't know we're here or don't realize that we've been here this long. We are over 32 years here in this fine city of Houston. And it was unique to Houston because the founder of the museum, our late Mr. R.L. Waltrip, it was his dream to have a place to showcase our industry, the history of our industry, and their headquarters is here in Houston. So, rightfully so, if you're going to headquarters here, you're going to live your whole life here. If anybody knows Heights Funeral Home, that's the original place, the birthplace of the idea of the late Mr. R.L. Waltrip, and then
Wow.
his baby of the museum. And I have just been so honored to nurture and grow his concept into an amazing educational institution for everybody. I mean, death is going to come to all of us, will affect us, and I think it's a unique way to one talk about the subject throughout the museum, but also get to know the history of the industry of the funeral
Yeah.
profession and how they go about caring for the dead.
Yeah, I mean, the museum is so unique, folks. And why do you think it draws so many people during the month of October?
Well, of course, it's the spooky month, right? I think it's the month that we will all embrace the scary, the macabre, the unknown.
Mhm.
Always in the month of October, it just seems to be welcoming in that time,
Mhm.
not only for our mindset, but for the I guess the theme and the ghoulishness that can be associated with our museum, and it's kind of a fun place to go hang out.
So, would you say it's also family friendly? Like, can I take, children, people of all ages?
Oh, it's definitely family friendly. I mean, it's a capturing museum. We have some fun fantasy Ghana coffins of all the different animals and objects that kids get gravitated towards. But children understand death as
Yeah.
young as the age of 2. So,
Hmm.
what a wonderful opportunity to breach that subject of death with the family and help children embrace death in a more healthier way.
Okay, so about the exhibits there at the museum, what are some of the things that we can find that, you would think, wow, like that's really here, or something like that?
We have a funeral bus. that people are captivated by, with this big monstrosity of a vehicle, if you will, that came from San Francisco. It was designed for the streets of San Francisco, the trolley tracks there. We have a casket.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a casket for 3 that people find quite fascinating. And then, of course, we have presidential exhibit there that goes all the way back to George Washington. So a fun walk through history and learning about the death of our presidents and how we as a nation mourn. And then we have Thanks for the Memories. Anybody who's an icon or somebody that knew somebody that made a big impact, whether it's through their music, their talent, or their ideas, are also featured in that exhibit. So that's kind of interesting. People will go in and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know they passed away, because television allows them to live on, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you get kind of taken back when you realize that they are human, just like us, and they unfortunately do pass away. But I think our most fascinating is our cultural aspect of the museum, which we call International Hall.
Okay. Awesome. So I know you always hold a Halloween event, and that event for this year sold out quickly. But you're also hosting a Day of the Dead event, which is another thing, that in Mexican culture, it's kind of like I think the families do to remember the dead, right? So
Correct.
tell us more about that and a special exhibit you are holding for that.
Yeah, so we have a permanent exhibit to the Dia de los Muertos, which is a Latin American holiday celebrated in a lot of the Latin American cultures. Like you said, this is a time where they take to reflect upon the dead, the people who have passed before them, also giving respect to their heritage and where they come from and their ancestors. We find that there's quite a lot of traditions that are
Yeah.
taken during this time frame, and I think. When I first started at the museum, before we even had an exhibit to the Day of the Dead, I remember that people would go into cemeteries, and if you were of Latin American descent, there was a lot of adornment that went onto the headstone or where the burial place of their loved one is, and people might not have understood what that actually meant. But as we continue to move forward, and nowadays there's actually Lawndale Cemetery on October 27th is having a huge Day of the Dead celebration in the cemetery. And it's just an opportunity for your neighbors to come out and understand what that holiday means to them and how we now celebrate it in our fine city of Houston, being so culturally enriched and having a large Latin American population here.
Yeah, and I know a great movie. One of probably like my top favorite movies of all time is Coco, and that just kind of showcases what that Day of the Dead really is about. I mean, it's a wonderful story, very heartfelt, and being of Latin descent, it just kind of pulls at my heartstrings. So, but
And
it's a great event.
I really think Coco really did your tradition justice. Truly, it did. Not only just, I mean, I think truthfully for the children, of course, because it's animated, but even the adults could find a lot to learn just by watching Coco.
Awesome. And so let's also talk about a special market that you're holding for the first time. Is that right?
Yes. So our Witches Brew, our second annual Witches Brew, sold out within 30 days. We couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And, people have to understand that this market is indoors. It's in the footprint of the museum and the facility itself. So in order for patrons to really enjoy the experience, we unfortunately have to limit the capacity that we can actually house for that evening. So with the great popularity of the Witches Brew, we said, hey, let's bring it back for Day of the Dead. And so this year is our first annual Day of the Dead market. We're really excited. We're also going to have a La Catrina costume contest.
Wow.
So we have a costume contest going for the best dressed La Catrina and the best dressed the La Catrina couple, the male and the female together. So we're really excited. We're already at 50% capacity. So if anyone's listening and you want to get your tickets, when we reach our capacity of about 525, we got 150 VIPs. We're more than halfway there. And we're about 275 right now. But when we reach that 525, the ticket sales shut off. And we always tell people, buyer beware. If you do not get your tickets with the National Museum of Funeral History, there are no other tickets being sold.
Yeah, so get them quick, folks. You gotta get to these events. So tell us where we can find those tickets and where can we learn more about the National Museum of Funeral History.
Yeah, so if you go on our website at www.nmfh.org, you can go into, you'll see on the slider, the Day of the Dead Market. You can click on that. It'll take you to the ticket site.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Genevieve Keeney-Vazquez. She's the president and CEO of the National Museum of Funeral History. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll have all of your info on the post after the show.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. And coming up after this, we have Sade, who will be back with her guest. So stay tuned.
When I grow up, I want to work at a school so I can be a teacher.
From classroom to career, we're with you every step. Register for real-world education at hccs.edu.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Is it unmuted now?
All right. All right. Welcome back from the commercial break. That was a great interview, Benji.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's pretty interesting that we have something like that here in town. I mean, it's great to see such traditions, and finding out about death isn't so scary.
Yeah, it's a thing that you're scared of, but is inevitable type situation. And it being in October, and I had forgot about Day of the Dead. In addition to what all the commemorations that happened in October. So we have our next guest live with us. I'd like to welcome to the show Suzette Brimmer, who's the Vice President of Instruction and Student Services at HCC Central College. Good morning, Suzette.
Good morning.
Welcome back to the show, and congratulations on this new role. What an honor for you and your fellow VPs. I know you are just poised to make an impact on the student community.
Yes, I am. And thank you very much, Sade.
All right, well, let's dig into your journey to HCC and leading up into this role. What led you to HCC? And maybe was this your first institution that you worked at in higher education?
Yes, that's correct. I started here as an adjunct faculty member many years ago. I don't know if you remember Kay King, but she was very instrumental in me working or actually getting.
All right. We got a little technical difficulties that happen sometimes. If you're just joining in, we are talking with one of our new vice presidents of instruction and student services. This role is something new to HCC under the direction of our chancellor, Dr. Margaret Ford Fisher, to help align student services and instructional services at the institution. So Up to the Minute has been talking to these VPs throughout the month to kind of get an understanding of, hey, what is your background? What journey led you to HCC, and what's your plans on how you are going to connect the vision of the chancellor and where we are going as an institution? And I think we may have Suzette back.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Sometimes it just happens like that. As a VP, you are moving between campuses.
Yes, I am. Yes, sure day. I'm in a parking lot, and it's like this morning, any and everything that could go wrong went wrong, but we're here and we're going to make the best of it. So thank you for being a fabulous host.
No problem. I'm sure as an instructor, now as a VP, Murphy's Law is something that has Always happy to you. So you started off in instruction. You were telling us about your journey to HCC, and you were telling us how you started off as adjunct.
Yes, yes. I started with Kay King. We were in a business association together, and she said to me, as we got to know each other, I would love for you to teach for HCC. And then that was the spark. Started as an adjunct, became full-time faculty, program coordinator, then chair, and before that, though, associate chair, then chair, and then on to being a dean about 7 years ago. So now VP. I was really excited when that position came up and decided to throw my hat in the ring, and just very happy to be here at Central. I consider myself a franchise player. So I started here at Central, and Central is my campus.
And and I always love to hear people's stories. And when I reflect back on just my own journey to higher ed, because it was definitely unintentional. Okay. I think higher ed chose me, because if you would have asked me years ago. But one thing that I look back and when I talk to a lot of people is that you can start seeing how everything that you've done has led up and prepared you for the role that you're currently in. Do you feel like that in this VP role?
Oh, absolutely. And like you, higher ed chose me. I was in a retail business, and during when I was an adjunct, we actually had our own professional uniform stores. So you're right. It was the same thing. It chose me, meeting Kay, and I never turned back. I mean, I knew once I got into it that it was a calling. Love the students, love the academic scenery, and the people that I work for. I just think the college has the most phenomenal faculty and staff and students.
And even though you've been a franchise player, you've been with HCC and been Team Eagles this whole time. I'm sure this new role, anytime you start a new role, that first 30 days just feels like you have to learn so much. So what are your first 30 days playing out to be?
Well, it's really funny. I thought I would plan it, and so did the VPs when we all met for boot camp. We talked during our lunch break and said, "Oh yeah, these are the things that we'd like to do." And then all of a sudden, a week has passed, or things change, and so it's just become very fluid. But one of my major priorities was to meet with my president, make sure that we align our goals. And second of all, to really get out there and meet the students and work with the student services, because that's an area where I was more instructional, but have always worked with student services, but now to be able to work even much more closely with them. So my first 30 days has been really inserting myself into different areas that I am not as familiar with, and getting to know the people and finding out what their concerns are and how I could help support them better.
So I'm assuming you and a lot of VPs have done somewhat of a tour. You're going, you're meeting people, and you're getting that direct feedback from faculty, staff, and students. How does that help inform your priorities?
Well, their views sometimes can be totally different from mine. So it gives me an opportunity to see what makes a difference in their life, even and talking to students. The last 2 days I've spent with Sign to Commit with the students. So that's been really neat, meeting them, talking to them about their degree plans, what their concerns are, what they enjoy doing on campus, what will help them make them feel more of a campus atmosphere, and what's going to make them feel more invested in the college and in themselves. So that's been a top priority, and that was my priority for the week, I should say. So each week, it's very fluid. Things come up, and you have to adapt to what's going on campus that particular day. But all with enrollment in the background. What can we do to boost our enrollment? So that's also a major priority.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I heard at Convocation, we have, we definitely as an institution have this dual priority of enrollment and retention. And as you mentioned, this week is Commit to Complete, to help students reconnect with that degree plan that they need to kind of dust off and look at again.
Yes, that's so right. And the advisors are like super cheerleaders for our students. So that it's so great to have that experience with them. That's what I mean about getting to meet other people and really work with them, spend a day with them and find out what their life is. So it's like getting to know what it's like to be an advisor and getting to know them. And I just feel like we have such exceptional people in student services.
And as a student service member myself, I would have to agree, a little biased. And definitely shout out to our advising team who are making intentional connections this week to help students understand their degree plans and understand, hey, what milestones do you need to hit to make sure that you're reaching your goals of completion? What's one thing, now that you've been on this tour, what's one thing that's been surprising about the student services side?
Just their level of cheerleaderness, what I call cheerleaderness. I mean, really just getting to the students, getting in their faces, talking to them. And like part of the commitment was that we played games, and it was very interesting, like the answers to the games, just to see how much students know about their degree plan, student services, the different support areas, what financial aid, how long does it take to get into financial aid? So I just found that very exciting, like how innovative and creative they are to get their message across.
Yeah, and that's in instructional services has the most contact hours with our students. So when we are in student services and we have these points of connection, I'd like to call them, we're certainly prioritizing, cheering them on and helping. And to your point of what they were doing around the quizzes, students don't know a resource. You need to know that resource when you have that need.
That's correct. You're definitely right.
So planting those seeds during that time. Okay, so are there any other goals for the year as we approach this, what they're calling a winter arc, as we close out this kind of last 90 days for the year?
Well, getting to know the other COE better, working with our CE counterpoints all on Central Campus, and boosting our enrollment and, just making certain that people get what they need for instruction as well. Meeting with the faculty, the chairs, the program coordinators, finding out what their goals and visions are, because, we're hitting the budget cycle as well. So making sure that we get what we need to support our student services as well as instruction.
All right. It sounds like a plan to wrap out this year. I want to thank you for joining us. We've been speaking with Suzette Brimmer, who is the Vice President of Instruction and Student Services for HCC Central College. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's my absolute pleasure, and have a fantastic day.
You too. All right, we'll have more details posted after the show, and we'll be back after this break with news and announcements.
When I grow up, I want to work in a lab to build robots.
From classroom to career, we're with you every step. Register for real-world education at hccs.edu.
That one day at PE when they were like yelling at me, and then you just linked arms with me. I don't think you know how much like that helped me. I finally knew that I had somebody.
Welcome back. We're going to wrap things out like we always do here on Up to the Minute with news and announcements of things happening across HCC and the community. Going to kick things off with an innovation grant for HCC faculty and staff. HCC is accepting applications for its annual innovation grants. 5 faculty and student support staff will receive up to $5,000 to implement their plans. The deadline to submit the application is tomorrow at 5 p.m. on Friday, October 18th. Want to drill that date in. Be sure to check the details posted after the show to submit your application.
Yes, and next we have Swoop Leadership Workshops From Vision to Reality, HCC Student Life is presenting a series of workshops for students. Up next is Bring Your Vision to Reality. This will take place Friday, October 18th from 10:30 a.m. to noon at the HCC East Side Student Life Center. Check out our post on the show for more info.
All right, and we are having our fall musical recitals happening at the Stafford Fine Arts Center. If you haven't been there, it's a real treat to get a show. This special event will feature a curated selection of students showcasing their musical skills and instrumentation and voice. It'll be happening Sunday, October 20th at 6 p.m. at the Stafford Fine Arts Center. The recital is free. Everyone is welcome, and details will be posted after the show for you to learn how to check it out.
Yes, and next up we have Girl Chat Wednesdays mental health group. There are some things only another woman can understand, so this group offers a safe space to discuss those subjects. This will take place Wednesday, October 23rd, which would be at noon at the HCC Central Harmon Building, room 101. Check out our post after the show for more info.
All right, the countdown to graduation and celebrating our grads is on, and we don't want you to miss your chance. So you want to pay attention to these deadlines. Another grad season is upon us. If a student is preparing to graduate, they must complete two important steps. They must apply for graduation to show they've met all the academic requirements to receive their diploma. And also, if they plan to walk the stage at commencement, which is a ceremony to celebrate, you must register. So the deadline to apply for graduation is November 1st. So your first step, meet with an academic advisor, apply for graduation by November 1st. Once you have applied and you want to participate in the ceremony, you must register to participate in the ceremony by November 15th. Be sure to check the details after the show and mark your calendar with those deadlines.
All right, I'm going to skip over for the sake of time. We'll skip over to spring registration starts soon. Registration for the spring semester is next week with classes offered in a variety of programs in a various semester lengths. HCC's courses are also offered in a range of 5 modalities. So to learn more about HCC program start dates and options to cover costs, please visit hccs.edu/apply.
All right, thanks, Benji. Well, coming up, Benji will be back tomorrow as our Film Friday co-host. And next week, we'll have our usual special programming, such as Mental Health Monday and Tasty Tuesday and more. Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of Up to the Minute. We'll see you next time.